Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Warpaint's webinar presentation. As Hannah's already said, my name's Eoin Macleod. I'm one of the original founders of the Warpaint Group, and today I'm joined by the other founder of Warpaint, Sammy Bazini. The presentation will give you an idea about the history of the company, where we came from, where we're going, how the company started, and more importantly, how we plan to implement our 3-year strategy growth. And then, as Hannah said, we'll open the floor for further questions. If everybody would like to turn or move on to slide 2, first part of the presentation, the introduction. Warpaint is a high quality colour cosmetics brand which offers goods at a very affordable price to the market, and it is mainly under the W7 and Technic brand names. The business employs 120 people. We have 145,000 square foot of warehousing and office space. Our headquarters are either in Buckinghamshire, near Heathrow Airport, and we also have a large operation in Silsden in West Yorkshire, as well as offices in the USA, in Hong Kong, China, and Germany. And in particular, the offices we have and staffing in Hong Kong and China are extremely useful in terms of, one, for our Far Eastern customers, don't have to travel all the way to the UK to see product, but more importantly, when we're doing QCing, i.e. quality control for products, we're a lot closer and direct to the market where we're having the goods manufactured, and any issues can be rectified immediately, and also it does help speed up the process of getting the goods and samples to the market a lot better than normal. Now, the Warpaint Group is made up of 2 divisions. The largest division, which represents, as you can see on the slide there, 85% of the revenue in 2009, has 2 or 3 major brands, i.e. W7, Technic, and the Body Collection brands. The other parts of the division is the closeout business, which represents 15%, as you can see, of revenue for 2019. And for those of you that don't understand or know what the closeout business is, this is really where we buy other companies' products under their own brand names at heavily discounted prices and sell them to the discounters within the UK market and around the world, so to the likes of Poundland, B&M Bargains, Home Bargains, and TK Maxx. And actually the closeout side of the business is how Sammy and myself met back in the late 1980s. As teenagers, when those days we were buying and selling cosmetics and perfumes and selling them to the market traders, cash and carriers, and any other discounters. And after a few years of trading together, we formed our partnership in 1992 and then successfully carried on trading within that industry for many, many years. In 2002, we decided to launch our W7 brand, and the name came about after a lot of expense and research. We decided to use our postcode, W72QD, which was where we were based in Ealing, west of London. We initially started with 3 products, and these 3 products came about because in the clearance and closeout industry, a lot of the lines that you often need, and the most popular lines, you don't get very many of. So we started with 1 pencil, 1 black mascara, and a clear lip gloss. Here we are 18 years later, 800 plus products and colours within the range. In terms of a timeline, I'll just give you an idea of about where the company succeeded from and grew from our initiation of W7 in 2002. In 2006, W7 sales reached £1 million. At the time, it was really just an extra sideline, as I mentioned. It was to fill a few gaps within the market. Then came the last financial crisis in 2008, and we decided we should focus a lot more on our own brand, and that's where the future business of the company lay. Come 2010, sales then had reached £3 million. In 2011, we reached another landmark where export sales managed to get to £1 million. And by 2015, the group sales for W7 reached £17 million. In 2016, as I'm sure you're very aware, we've successfully launched and got listed on the AIM market. And then in 2017, we decided to make another acquisition, and we bought into a company called Retra, where I've mentioned to you before about Body Collection and Technic. These are 2 of the brand names within their organisation. The main reasons we bought into them, they were a very, very successful gifting company where we were quite weak. And not only that, they were also dealing with a lot of the major retailers on the high street at the time, as well as the grocery trade. And these were two particular markets we were looking to get into. So it gave us a good and immediate door that was already open to go into their areas. If you'd like to turn over to slide 3, the group overview. Again, as I'm sure you're aware, sales for 2019 reached £49.3 million. The group brands were just under £40 million worth of that, representing 80% of the business. You'll see underneath the heading there, W7 I've already mentioned. I've mentioned the Technic and the Body Collection brand. You'll see that W7 also does have a vegan range, which is being relaunched very soon, just to bring it more up to date with fashions and trends. We own another brand called Chit Chat, which is a children's brand, a range called Vintage, which is self-explanatory. And then we have finally another range called Man Stuff, which is a men's bath and body range, which has been very successful in the last 3 years since its launch. We also do some white label goods. This is where we manufacture goods on behalf of other companies and under their brand names. And the two in particular, one being Asda, which I'm sure you're all aware of, and secondly TD, which is a German retailer, and sales for 2019 represented 5%. Underneath that, the closeout where I've mentioned where we still continue to this day buying products from other companies, so like the likes of Rimmel, Max Factor and Revlon, and still sell them to the discounters, represented 15% of the business and £7.7 million worth of turnover. And then finally, on the right-hand side of this slide, you'll see that the gifting, which is a big part of our business, not only just for Christmas, but we are successful for Valentine's Day, for Father's Day, and as well as Mother's Day, took 21% of the turnover, representing £10.5 million worth of sales for the company. So I hope that's given you a quick but brief overview of where we started and where we're going. And now I'll pass you over to Sammy Bazini.
Slide 4. Business overview. We aim to deliver high quality cosmetics at an affordable price. We're not trendsetters, we're followers of fashion. And how we operate is, if one of the big brands, a L'Oreal, a Chanel, a Max Factor, any of these brands produce something that's particularly on trend, new colours come out, we will follow that fashion. We'll try and mimic it, or as we say in the trade, dupe it, in a 3 to 6 month period, so that when it comes onto the market, it's still in fashion. The turnaround and the speed to market is very, very important. The mimic, the dupes, whatever you want to call them, represent 30% approximately of our business. The other core 70% are red lipsticks, a red nail polish, a black mascara, the staple kind of thing that you would find in any cosmetic bag. But the dupes are the things that create interest in the brand and drive the business. We outsource all our manufacturing. This gives us a good price and quality. If we're not happy with the price or the quality, we can move. We're not tied to one place. All the factories we use have GMP, Intertech or other internationally recognized certification. So we never have a problem with quality. And a lot of the factories we use are used by the larger brands that you'll find on the high street, in a Tesco, a Boots, a Superdrug. So we're very careful where we produce. International growth strategy in place and delivering. When we floated in 2016, 44% of our business was export. We're now circa 60 countries and 54% of our business is now export. Last year in 2019, there was 8.6% growth in our W7 and Technic brands overseas. Tesco's and Wilko's to stock our products in the UK. We were launching in September into 355 body collection stores, into 355 Wilko stores and 189 Wilko stores with our Technique brand. We managed to launch earlier on in the year with our W7 brand into 56 Tesco stores, and I'll talk more about that on the next slide. This is, at the moment, seems to be the most important message: profitable, cash generative, with a robust balance sheet, sufficient financial strength to withstand this COVID-19 disruption. We want to assure everyone we've got enough cash for the year, even if we don't sell anything, which we feel is a very important message. Over the years, we've come sometimes under pressure from our investors and even from some member of the board. You don't need to keep all this cash in the business. You know, why not distribute it and take on a bit of debt? Ian and I have, over the years, have never had debt, so we've always resisted it, feeling it was better to keep the money in the bank for a rainy day. And it's absolutely pouring at the moment, so we're pleased we hung on to the cash. We're virtually debt-free. We've got a little bit of debt. When we acquired Retra in the north, they had a few HP loans, but nothing. We could clear them, but actually it was cheaper to just see them through. So we've got no debt. We're net debt-free. The only unfortunate thing with this situation, Ian and I and the company, we've always had a progressive dividend policy. But we felt it would be foolish to recommend, a couple of months ago, a final dividend for 2019. However, we've been doing better than expected. We've retained more cash than we would. Turnover's been better. So we are hopeful, providing things keep ticking up and we don't get another downturn. There may be a special dividend later on in the year or a larger interim dividend. Slide 5, strategy for future growth. Develop and build the group's brand. We've got an in-house PR department, and we also use outside PR companies to promote our W7 and Technic brands. We do this by using social media, Instagram, bloggers and influence. We target our audience. We don't throw money at things and hope for the best. We target 16 to 30-year-olds. That's our demographic. Through the influence, through the bloggers, we use the kind of people that we feel that they can relate to. And this works for us very well, and it's quite cost effective. We also help our distributors abroad to promote the brand. We pay PR companies in France, Spain and Russia. We've got a very big customer in Denmark that actually is expanding out into all over Scandinavia. We give them free product for new shop openings. We send them product to give out to their bloggers and brand ambassadors, and this is how we promote our products abroad. With regard to Tesco, when we launched in there, it's quite important for us. We had a sort of a big PR and media campaign to do that, but because COVID came along, it would have been a pointless exercise. People can't go into the stores, and Tesco didn't really want to encourage people browsing in the stores. They sort of wanted them in and out. So we shelved that, but we are going to use a company called dunnhumby, which are the people that run Tesco's Club Card. And how it works is we can target anyone in the store if they're a buyer of another competitor's cosmetic brand, if they're buying baked beans, whatever they're buying, when they check out, if they put their club card through and we've targeted them, it will churn out a voucher for a discount on the W7, and apparently this is a good driver of sales. Develop and nurture current core business. It's been very, very tough on the high street in the last few years, and we've lost a lot of the tail. So though our big customers like B&M Bargains, TK Maxx, to name a few, have been growing with us, there's nothing wrong with the brand. We've lost a lot of the tail, a lot of the independents. So really we are aiming to keep what we have and don't let it slip any further. And at the beginning of the year, sort of January, February, we were trading at the higher end of the board's expectations. So the strategy is working. Grow market share in the UK. At the moment, until recently, we've only been in 25% of the UK retail market. The other 75% is made up of Tesco, Morrison's, Lidl, Aldi, these Boots, Superdrug, the big major retailers. We haven't been in this market, and people have asked, why have you waited till now? It's taken sort of 15 months to get in. But what we've also found, because we're a budget brand, it was quite difficult with the cost of entry to get into these places. But what's happened, particularly with Tesco, they realise they need to offer a value offering in order to drive business into the store. So, they've been actually excellent with us, and all we've offered them is everyday low price to make sure that the goods are offered at a price that we feel will sell. We launched in March. We started off very well. After a couple of weeks, the buyer said to us, we didn't expect you to be doing these kind of sales for at least 2 months. However, COVID came along and everything sort of dropped off a cliff, but we're now back to these pre-COVID levels, if you like, not that it's over yet. Tesco definitely want to keep us on board. They've offered us more space in 36 of what they call their Beauty World stores. So we've got double space in there selling our accessories, nails, eyelashes, skincare. They've also offered us cardboard floor stands to put in these stores that will give the brand more visibility. And I can report, because it got launched today, they've also given us a trial in 41 Express stores. And I believe there are over 1,000 Express stores, so it's a big opportunity. And we feel if they weren't happy with the way the brand was performing, they wouldn't be giving us all this extra space and opportunity. As I mentioned, we're launching in Wilko with a couple of our brands in September, and we were in advanced talks with a number of other large retailers before the COVID crisis began, and obviously a lot of the buyers were furloughed or they disappeared, but we're now taking this up again, and we've got a number of Zoom calls over the coming weeks to see if we can move forward with other large UK retailers. Grow market share in the US and China. We acquired our distributor in back end of 2018. They're like us, they were a clearance company and they sold a bit of W7, but we felt they weren't promoting the brand as we were like. They were focusing on the closeout. So we acquired them. We immediately found out that their overheads were too high. Their distribution model wasn't fit for purpose. They were paying far too much attention to the closeout, which is a less margin. It's not why we bought them. We bought them to promote the W7 brand in America. So Ian took steps at the back end of last year to reduce the costs. We changed the management, and at the beginning of this year, the margin was improved, the overheads were lower, and we're moving in the right direction. Sorry to keep bringing it up, but along came COVID. We were talking to a number of US retailers, and that's been largely US retailers, that's been shelved. It's very difficult for the moment. We hope it will open up soon, but in the meantime, we're focusing on our e-commerce proposition. We've got a website there with fulfillment, and we're now building an Amazon shop there, which apparently 60% of searches for products straight away start on Amazon. So the shop will be ready in the next 6 to 8 weeks. But with regard to China, we've signed a new distribution agreement in January. We've had to reduce their targets for this year for obvious reason. I'm not going to mention the C word again, but we've got an agreement that if they can hit their targets this year, the next 2 to 3 years will not be insignificant turnover. How we're supplying them, as Ian mentioned earlier, we've got a Chinese company. We're getting the goods made and registered in China, and they're being shipped directly to the factories, to the distributor. And by doing this, it's not just cross-border internet sales. They can also serve retail outlets within China. Develop online and e-commerce strategy. The website always used to be just a marketing tool for us, where we do our PR and get people to engage with the brand. And we'd also set our products at a really high retail, so that the discounters could offer 30%, 40% off. And what this meant was we were the dearest website to buy W7 on in the country. So back end of last year, we took the decision we want to start promoting our website. We reduced the prices more in line with the people that like Tesco. We've also stopped some of these Amazon resellers trashing the brand and selling it too cheap. I mean, we can sell on Amazon. We don't need other people to do that. And then along came COVID-19, which also helped. And a combination of these three things have seen from the beginning of March, our web sales increased by over 300%. And as we're coming out of this COVID situation, we're not seeing any wane. You know, we're still keeping the momentum going. Sales are still good and on the up. Finally, develop appropriate people strategy, organisational structure and efficiency. During this time, we've been able to look very closely at the business and how we do things and where we can improve and save costs. When we acquired the business Rector in Silsden, West Yorkshire, we had reps serving in the south. Our reps were serving in the north. So we've streamlined it all. The reps will sell in their own areas. This will save costs. It makes it more efficient. So that's one of the things we've done. We're also building new offices at our HQ in Ivor, 9,000 square foot offices. We can take on more hires, particularly in MPD and design, where we're desperate to get some more people in, but we were a bit tight for space. Slide 6, the summary. Sufficient financial strength to withstand COVID-19. We're still going to be here in a year's time. We've got plenty of cash to see this through. Continued international growth, 8.6% up on the year in 2018 to 2019. W7 range successfully launched in Tesco's. I'm hopeful that eventually we'll get a rollout. It seems to be performing very well. And we're also in discussions with other major retailers. Focused strategy in place to deliver future results. We've put this strategy in place over a year ago, and prior to March 2020, we were trading at the higher end of the board's expectations. Thank you.
Thank you to you both. That's extremely helpful. And we've got a few questions coming in now. So from Graham, thanks for an excellent presentation. Given that 38% of sales go to the EU and these sales are expanding, what would be the effect on the business of a no-deal exit?
Well, what we've done to avoid this, we've registered a company in the Republic of Ireland, and it's actually what it's called, they call it triangulation. We would invoice the company in Ireland. The company in Ireland would invoice the company in the European Union, and it would be completely seamless. We would ship the goods from the UK straight into the European Union with the correct paperwork. So it's not really an issue. I mean, you have to have an address in Europe anywhere if you want to sell cosmetics. There has to be a responsible person. There's an EU portal where you have to register all your product, but as it stands at the moment, we saw this coming ages ago, and it's all dealt with. We've got a European VAT number, and we can just ship from the UK.
Good. Okay, under control. Now, this one comes all the way from Madrid. I'm not sure if it's even warmer there, but it says they're a little concerned about the sector post comments by Ulta. Girls like to share makeup and also try samples in stores. And will COVID have a huge impact on the dynamics of the sector? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I heard about this one earlier. Yeah, I mean, in terms of Ulta made a very fair statement there. Where they're coming from, though, is Ulta do sell a lot of the higher end brands, so your Chanel's, your Dior's, your Urban Decays. So these are products that are being sold for 20, 30, 40, and sometimes £50, and understandably, customers will want to have a tester to use prior. To actually making the purchase, whereas W7 is a budget brand. A lot of our purchases are impulse purchases. People will try our brand without testing it. And to give you an idea, by comparison, our products start retailing at anything from £3 up to £10. So in terms of testers, we actually have very little issue here. And just to confirm this point, B&M Retail, which I'm sure everyone is aware of as a retailer here in the UK, where we supply testers a lot for them, and we have done always on displays, they actually, believe it or not, ask us to take the testers off of the displays because their customers make too much mess within the stores. And we've been extremely successful with them, so that just proves the majority of our products will sell with or without a tester.
I mean, we have also found in Tesco obviously when this COVID hit, they took all the testers off shelf. We're now back up to this sort of the March levels, the beginning of March levels, and the products, and without any testers, and they're still continuing to sell. So, we think it'll be okay. I mean, the concern for some people is, you mentioned Spain. We've got a very big customer in Spain called Primor, and what we're hearing is, that things are going to be difficult in terms of finances for people. And actually, we believe this is our time. When things get tough and there's not a lot of money about, people turn to budget. It's called the lipstick effect. So with us, ironically enough, the lipstick effect, if you've got something that's cheap and budget and of a good quality, it does, even if there's a recession, you will still sell your products.
I mean, a very valuable and a very good question, but we believe we're in a very good situation, as Sammy mentioned, in terms of our price point within the market.
Okay. If we look across the water then to the US, so you talked about conversations you were having pre-COVID. Were they with national, state level, regional chains? Can you give some indication?
Yeah, I mean, I actually attended with the team in the US a presentation and meetings. It's a basically speed dating for business. So you get put in front of buyers for a 20-30 minute presentation, and then obviously there's feedback and you follow up thereafter. So we did a show in Chicago in January for 3 days where we met a lot of the major retailers. One in particular where we actually put pen to paper, which was a grocer chain called Kroger's, and they own various other store groups within their organisation. Admittedly, they only gave us a trial immediately for just under 200 stores for 3 different products, which was due to go in, I believe, around May time of this year, which has now been put back until September unless things change otherwise, with the idea that if it did work, then there's a possibility they rise out into the rest of their chain. And they have, I think, is somewhere in the region of 4,000 to 5,000 stores. Plus, we were talking with a lot of other retailers. But as you've seen, the situation in America is equally as bad as it is here. Unfortunately, a lot of the retailers still aren't open. We had a lot of Christmas orders booked. Unfortunately, we didn't have Christmas orders cancelled. They were just put on hold. We have had some of those reinstated already by the likes of Macy's Backstage, but some of them are still holding off, depending on obviously when they get the final go-ahead to open stores up properly again.
Okay, thank you. Can you comment on how margins vary by product and geography?
Well, we get our best margin in the UK because very often you haven't got a distributor in the middle and you're not paying as much for shipping. So we get our best margin in the UK. How does it? It's so varied. We've got 650 plus SKUs. Some of them we can get. It's impossible to say. Within each section, each segment, if you say take it to eyes, lips, nails, even within that, even within the different categories, you'll get some things you're earning a lot of money on. So we get a good margin on an eye pencil. You don't get such a good margin on a mascara. There's really no sort of science towards it, but overall we get a good margin. Okay.
Is the product going into Wilko's mainly targeted at the male customer?
It's cosmetics.
So it's all cosmetics.
It's all female.
Yeah. So the Technic brand is a budget brand of cosmetics, and the body collection the same. The only men's product we have is the Man Stuff range, which is a bath and body range of 10 or 12 different references.
Is that question being asked because Wilko's is seen as more of a hardware store? Because they do have a number of cosmetic. Yeah. I wondered why that question was asked, but they do have a number of cosmetic brands in there. So, it's not a trial for them. This is a tried and tested thing for what they do. I just wondered why that was asked particularly.
I don't get a two-way discussion, but quite possibly.
Okay.
Another one here, you've outlined your near-term outlook and priorities. Could you give them a feel for the long term, 5 to 10 years? your strategic aims and ambitions, and do you both plan to stay in the business?
That's a good question. I mean, you've done.
Well, we'll stay in the business as long as we enjoy it and as long as we feel we need it and want it. I mean, our strategy is to grow this business as much as possible. I mean, at the moment, we're not looking particularly at acquisitions. We've got our hands full with what we're doing. For us, this is all about growing the share price. Eoin and I own 50% of this business. I mean, when we floated, we always said, you know, we'd like to pack it in when we're about 65, which is, I suppose we've got another 7 years to go, and be able to hand over the business, you know, in an orderly fashion to, you know, a new CEO and a new team. But at the moment, we're here for a while. Unless somebody wants to give us £20 a share, then we could consider it.
The table is open.
I'll let you know if we get any offers after this call.
That's very kind of you, Hannah.
No, we're here to grow the share price. Yeah. That's what we want to do, and grow the business.
Well, you obviously you touched then on the presentation on the, if you will, the tail dropping away. So I think this question refers to that. Within Tesco, sort of what's your footprint so far as a percentage, and what do you realistically think it can grow to?
What's our footprint as a percentage? I'm sure
I think perhaps meaning in number of stores so far.
Well, at the moment, as a percentage, we are in, we're not even in 10% of their stores. We would like to think it's going to grow to 300 to 600 stores. That isn't a forecast, by the way, but that's what we think. If you know, they're looking for a value proposition, and we're, you know, definitely that. So we do feel it can grow. We know from the dunnhumby data that we've been doing particularly well, and we've been doing particularly well on customers that haven't been buying cosmetics before. So where people might have been shopping in Superdrug and Boots over this period of time, and they've been coming in to Tesco, because if you go into Boots at the moment, their cosmetics stands are shut up. They want people in and out. They don't want people testing. We know we're sort of 60 to 70% of we're taking of the new business in the stores that we're in. Obviously, we're only in a small percentage. So, I mean, yeah, we're here to grow. This was part of our strategy, and it's exceeded our expectations. So we think we will grow considerably with Tesco over sort of the coming 8 months to a year. But again, we don't know. That's up to Tesco. It really depends how things pan out with the current situation.
And then this, a bit of a follow-on from that then, you said it took 15 months for your discussions with Tesco. Would you expect that timeline to be shortened now that you have Tesco as an example customer?
I would hope so. It's always hard to get the first one. I mean, the discussion with Tesco didn't take 15 months. They brought it to about 9 months, but it was trying to get in to see them, you know, and all the things going on before that. But, you know, putting cosmetics in is, you know, quite a slow process. You're not putting a can of beans on the shelf. They've only got so much room, you know, designated for cosmetic stands. They've got to pull them out to put new ones in. But maybe you misunderstood. It didn't take 15 months to get into Tesco. This was a part of our strategy that we started 15 months ago. Actually, from start, we started talking to them last July, and we launched in March, which was pretty good. But it is usually a year's project.
I take on the point though where you said about, you know, would it be easier once we're in talks with some other major retailers at the moment. The advantage is now we are in Tesco's. Once we do have that data and the numbers and the facts and figures, we can actually then use that when we're making further presentations to other retailers, which is like sort of the rubber stamp. Yes, we've got proven data here. So in theory, it should, and in practice, speed up things slightly.
But I have to say, at the moment, for the time being, we're focused on growing Tesco. In that sector, in the grocery sector, we're happy to work with them, you know, as long as they're helping us grow. They turn around and say, well, you're in 56 stores, that's that. But, you know, then we'll look elsewhere. But they are the biggest grocer in terms of cosmetics. They're 28%, I believe, of the grocery trade in terms of cosmetic sales. So if you're going to pick one, that's the one to pick, and that's the one we're focused on. So other than maybe looking at other avenues, maybe some big pharmacy chains and the like, in terms of a grocer at the moment, we're really focused on trying to grow the business within Tesco. They've been very, very easy and very good to deal with.
Good. We look forward to an update on the express stores then. Moving along to sourcing, how easy would it be to switch away from Hong Kong?
From China, we have had a look at that with everything that's been going on. Would it be easy? Yes, it can be done. I don't know how easy. Problem with cosmetics, you're not printing a book. So if you move somewhere else, you've then got to reformulate. You've then got to make sure all the products are compliant. You can't just, it's not, it's a longer process. It could be done. I mean, there is still no question China is the cheapest place to produce, but if things were to go badly and people couldn't produce in China, or they whacked on great big tariffs, we'd all be in the same boat. So we'd probably end up producing in Europe. But we don't produce everything in China. We produce in Luxembourg, we in a few countries in Europe. We produce a bit in Germany. We produce, some of our nail polish comes from America. We produce eyelashes in Indonesia. Not everything we produce is in China and Hong Kong. There are other places we produce. But yes, it would be a headache. But of course, if we had to do it, we could do it. Okay,
good. Given then the sort of average age of your audience and with the impact of COVID, have you seen a strong shift to your online portal? And can you say how much of your sales have been online this month?
As a percentage, or as a...
that to last month.
But as a percentage or an actual figure?
Let's go with the percentage.
Last month, I'm trying to... Yeah, but I can't remember what the...
Or an actual figure.
No, we're not doing an actual.
No, we don't want to do numbers. I mean, Sammy's mentioned, obviously, since COVID, there we use the word. Yeah, the website has been up around in 350% up, on what it was doing before. But
I want to be careful here with what we say. I would say, I mean, before it was negligible, it wasn't even registering. Maybe it's 5% of the business. I'm not sure. I'd have to check the numbers.
Yeah, it's not material if anyone's thinking, is it suddenly going to... But it is a material jump for us. Yes.
Good. Okay. I won't put you on the spot anymore.
Okay.
The last one's just come in. Is China becoming more expensive as labour costs rise?
Not really. No, not really.
There was a little spike a few years ago where the minimum wage was increased, but no, over the last sort of 3, 4, 5 years, we haven't seen anything dramatically change in terms of costs going up.
In fact, part of the reason, our margin has got better. It's sort of we spent a lot of time last year reformulating and going to other factories. There were certain factories we were using, they were just getting more and more expensive. We've reformulated and gone to other factories. In fact, we're buying a little bit cheaper. This is part of the reason our margin has grown this year.
Okay. Well, that is all from the questions that we have. So thank you both very much for taking the time. And thank you to all of you listening in on a particularly warm and sunny Friday afternoon. And we will be making the recording available shortly. So thank you to both gentlemen, and everyone, please enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Hannah.
Bye.